It happens sometimes, or maybe even it happens a lot of times that we don't get what we want. Today's talk is about what happens when we don't get what we want or we get what we don't want. We all know that Lao Tzu said the great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. But we're not Lao Tzu, and we all have preferences. Everyone I know has preferences. Everyone prefers not to have climate change. We prefer that people be kinder. We prefer not to have countries at war. Or we just prefer to be happy. We all have likes and dislikes, cravings, aversions. We're born into the human realm, and that's what it means to be human. But it really helps to look at exactly what happens in you when you don't get something that you want. So think of a time, maybe even right now, when you didn't or you aren't getting what you want in some area. Do you get angry? Do you feel inadequate? Do you collapse? Or is there confusion? Or do you blame someone? Or do you blame yourself? In past teachings, I noted that sometimes we revert to the I'm bads when something unpleasant happens. We don't get what we thought we were going to, a disappointment, there's a loss. But instead of feeling the disappointment of the loss and letting go of our plan, we do this flip and we immediately go to the I'm bads. We completely forget the first noble truth that there is dukkha. And we might even also add another little bitty untruth that we add. It's always going to be this way. That's weird. It's not. We forget that everything is always changing. But there's a neural pathway in our brain that flips to the channel, this habit energy of meeting loss with self-depreciation. So when we suffer, there are always two things going on. There's what is happening, and there's how we're relating to it. Most of the time, we're in the part of our mind that's untrained, and we focus on what is happening instead of looking at how we're relating to it. Pain is inevitable. It's an unavoidable reality. And it's part of our human experience. Sometimes pain is a call to action. And sometimes it's a call to accept our losses and our tragedies. So we've been told that suffering is not something that's necessary, it's optional. Ram Dass said, once you see that suffering is grace, you don't ask for it, but when it comes, you see that it's cluing you into a place in the mind that's clinging. And you go back to your practices of letting go of clinging mind. If we can feel our pain, it will pass because everything passes, everything changes. But when we can't face the painful reality that life has given us, we create our own suffering. We're resisting what's happening. And suffering is the unnecessarily prolongation of pain. There's a sacred quality to witnessing our suffering, witnessing it in a way that's attentive and compassionate, just like a mom witnesses suffering in their children. And we can see it's not always going to be this hard. Look at your thoughts. Are your thoughts increasing suffering? Maybe write down your thoughts and question them. Are they even accurate? Become aware of your thoughts. And now differentiate thoughts and feelings. We write down and examine thoughts if they're true or not. You know, it's hopeless or it's always going to be this way. But we feel the feelings. We have to feel the pain of the loss. And sometimes we're able to move out of the paradigm in which preferences exist. And it turns out that the more we meditate, the more we open, and we can be with whatever is happening and in the space of no preferences. We can just go with the flow and whatever happens. We really get impermanence. And we move into non duality. I've been drawn a lot lately to Pema Chodron's reminders and her advice to just stay. Stay with your shakiness a little longer. Stay with the feelings that are unpleasant. And stay close to the difficulty with a heart that's open. So we're learning to turn into discomfort of what's happening and hang in there with it. Uncertainty. We have to get used to no ground. There is no ground. We stay with the anxiety, with the frustration, with the uncomfortableness, with the irritation. Actually, we need them. They launch us forward. We meet what's here, and it takes as long as it takes to be released and to let go. We have to trust the integrity of life. And sooner or later, there's a breakthrough. And whatever we thought was unacceptable, it changes. Everything does. There's a saying, don't confuse what is happening right now with your destination. Just because it's stormy currently doesn't mean that you aren't headed for sunshine. So instead of avoiding pain, we acknowledge something has changed. I will adjust. I studied with Gils Fronsdal for some years, and he once read a poem written by his son when he was younger. Without darkness, nothing is born. But without the light, nothing flowers. It's absolutely necessary to learn about surrender. It's very easy to say surrender, just the word, but it's very hard to let it happen. It's a massive concept, and we can't just do it once. We have to live in surrender and in trust. M.C. Richards says, the way to the center is by abandonment. Am I willing to give up what I have in order to be what I'm not yet? In the most fundamental ways, we can't trust our bodies. It's even more weird. We can't trust our minds or anything that arises for that matter. We can't trust or control what happens to us. So, what can we trust? We can trust in our ability to be present right now for what's going on. We can be present for the underlying anxiety about not being in control, which is huge. And for many of us who are particularly for trauma victims, our old wiring has told us that being out of control is dangerous. Don't go there. So we begin by controlling what we can control. We can cultivate our ability to be present. And when we do this, fear drops away. Greed, anger, hatred, ignorance drop away. Anxiety falls away. Having to control drops away. And we can grow a deep peace and happiness. The opposite of surrender is to fight, to resist, to hold back, to hold on, to overthink. We try our best to control everything, and surrender means letting go, including letting go of the need to be right. And it seems to me that a deep surrender has to happen embodied in our bodies as well as mentally. Or it has for me anyway. One of my teachers was Charlotte Selver. And we spent many days lying on these broomsticks, the sticks that went from the top of our head to the base of our spine, all down our spine on the stick. And it was very painful at first. And we had to learn in our bodies how to surrender, how to let go, or it hurt. And after we let go, it became delightful. And we would go to class early and get the broomsticks or stay later and lie on the broomsticks. So I don't know. You need to find out for yourself if surrender is an embodied experience or not. But when we cry, we surrender to tears. And we surrender when we belly laugh. And a crisis forces us to surrender. There's an end to pain. There's an end to suffering. There's not an end to pain, but a release from the power that it holds over us. And being able to tolerate pain increases directly in relationship to how much we understand impermanence. The more we understand impermanence, the more we can allow and the less that we suffer. But the ego is tricky and it devises ways to hold on. And we can't control that. But we can find out about it. So we can experience fully whatever we're experiencing, just bringing an open heart and awareness to it. And this is a spiritual experience. You don't have to go anywhere else. You don't have to have any particular experience. You can open to the world of form in order to move into the formless. The magic is the discovery that the way out is to go in. So the ultimate surrender is coming into the moment. It means letting go of our history, letting go of our stories, letting go of everything and coming into what's right now, coming into presence. My true nature is luminous, spacious, and brilliant. May the merit of our practice be a benefit to all beings everywhere.